What causes abnormality or what is abnormal? We would understand the processes, the approach, and the history behind this concept of abnormality. Whatever is not normal is abnormal, to simply quote. So, in broad terms, I can say there are the concept of 4D. Now, what is this 4D? Deviance, danger, distress, and dysfunction. Wherever these 4D comes into action, the normality converts into abnormality. Now let's understand what are these 4Ds. The first is deviance. Deviance is a different phenomena than normal. So if all the students sit in the class and ask question, it is a normal phenomena. If one of the students sits aside and is very afraid to ask any of the question, this is a deviant phenomena. So deviance is a phenomena which is not normal and it is different or it is extreme from the remaining sample study. The next is distress. Distress is anything which is unpleasant or which creates a upset feeling for others surrounding you. So distress is another indicator of abnormality. It is not only unpleasant for you but also for the people surrounding you. So that means there is a abnormal behavior which is witnessed. The next is dysfunctional. Dysfunctional means it interferes with the normal functioning of your life. That means if you normally do 6 hours of work, 5 hours of play, but a dysfunctional situation could be where you do 2 hours of work, sit idle for 4 hours thinking that I was not able to do anything. For the another 2 hours you probably cry. For the another 2 hours you would probably curse others. So this is dysfunctional. Dysfunctional, to simply explain, is interfering with your ability to proceed with a normal routine activity or a normal routine life. And the fourth indicator is danger. Now danger could be to yourself. In certain cases we have seen persons harming themselves. In other cases it can be danger to other where you knowingly or unknowingly harm others. So these are the four indicators of a abnormal behavior. I repeat again, a abnormal behavior, the 4Ds are deviance, danger, dysfunctional behavior, and distress. Now, as mentioned, most of the population usually lie in the normal curve. So a normal distribution curve, if we draw, we see a substantial section of population lying within the segment of normality. But there are extreme scenarios of abnormality towards the tail of the normal distribution curve, and whatever, as I mentioned, is away from normal would be abnormal. So there would be cases who probably do not speak at all in the class or who continuously speak in the class, and most of the student would speak when required. So most of the student speaking when required would be a case of normal students. A student who does not speak at all or continuously keeps speaking would be a case of abnormal student in that classroom setting. Now, in psychology, we never have any ideal model. This is something that is to be achieved. This is ideal and must be achieved. No, since it's a behavioral study, we need to have a base for comparison, and that base is around the people or around the setting where the study is conducted. So, in the same example that I took, a classroom example, speaking a lot or speaking very less would be an abnormal situation, but speaking when asked would be a normal situation. Now, let's change a situation. Let's say this is a birthday party. If at the birthday party, the person is speaking only when he is being asked, that means the person is not interacting and this would not be a normal behavior in that scenario. So we need to have a base for comparison. Now this base for comparison is based on the setting. As I mentioned, psychology is a behavioral study. We cannot have an ideal or a one size fit all model for understanding abnormal behaviors. So under the abnormality approaches, usually there are two approaches. First is the deviation from the social norms. Whatever is socially not acceptable, and if a person does that, this is considered as a abnormal trait. Let's say going to school in a school dress is a social norm. Now, if all of the students come in the school dress, but one of the students every day says that I don't want to wear a school dress, I want to go in my own wish, then this is a deviance from a normal social behavior, and therefore it's part of a abnormality. The next is maladaptive behavior. That means the person is not able to adjust to the surrounding. 20 people going to a camp, 10 of them or 15 of them, 18 of them would enjoy there, but 2 of them would always be complaining. Water is not good, tent is not good, facilities are not good, no adequate lunch facilities, and that is a maladaptive behavior. The person there is not able to adjust to the surrounding. So either of those cases, whether there is a deviation from the social norm or the person is not able to adjust into a new surrounding, a new setting, is a case of abnormality. Now, if those cases are short-lived, there could be instances a person is not in a habit of doing those things or has seen such as phenomena for the first time in life, but if those are short-lived, those are okay to deal with. But if this lingers and proceeds and becomes a part of a normal routine life, the person by attitude would become complaining. Everywhere, be it the classroom, be it the school, be it the college, be it the job place, workplace, everywhere the complaints would keep on coming, and therefore is an indicative of maladaptive behavior. So normality approaches we understand into two fashion. Also, there is one common thing behind psychological disorders. As I mentioned, it is an older concept, more than 2500 years old. So definitely there had been some methods because of which these could be ruled out in the ancient times. So there have been lots and lots of superstitions, ignorance, fear about psychological disorders. There have been routine practices in villages, in rural households, where these are sometimes considered as a stigma. People are hesitant to go to a doctor to get a consultation, and this condition later on versus creating a alienation or a isolation situation for the patient in most cases. Now, when abnormality is explained, there are three bases to explain it. Why a person becomes abnormal or why a person behaves abnormally. The three reasons that have been cited are: the first is a supernatural or magical power. There could be an evil spirit, there could be a devil who has entered into the body, and therefore the person is behaving randomly. This was the concept which was used in the ancient days. Even what we call as the shaman or the medical man as Ojha have been commonly practicing these supernatural techniques, the magical powers, to rule out this kind of abnormal behavior from the minds of a common people. The next is a biological or a organic approach. Now this says that our body and brain have certain disformity, and because of the deformities there have been maladaptive behaviors which have increased, and this is a biological reason to it. If this biological reason is fixed, the improvement in the functioning is seen. The next is a psychological approach. The psychological approach is usually caused by inadequacies. Inadequacies in the means of the learning process, the thought process, the feelings, and a fear to take a challenge. The person is not ready to do a difficult question, to take a difficult challenge, to step out as or take a risk, we can simply say. And therefore these inadequacies create psychological abnormalities. So there is where we explain the reason behind abnormality. If we focus on historically, there have been numerous people and their works and their approaches. Let's say Hippocrates, Socrates, Plato, they have been focusing on the organismic approach. The organismic approach explains that behavior or irrational mal-aligned behavior is the result of emotions and thoughts. Galen focused on four humors. Those four humors are air, earth, fire and water, and according to him these are converted into the phlegm, the black bile, yellow bile and blood. So those are the four humors and the four symbols for those humors as given by Galen. The next was in the period of Middle Ages, demonology and superstition became predominant. So people started to believe there is demon around, there is a superstition, and because of which the person behaves abnormally. So Saint Augustine wrote exclusively about the mental anguish, the conflicts that arise, and tried to focus on the psychodynamic approaches. Then there was a period of Renaissance. Now the Renaissance, as we understand, originated because of the French Revolution. John Weir was the one who emphasized that psychological conflict and disturbed interpersonal relations are the reason for it. He insisted that witches are mentally disturbed and therefore require medical treatment, not superstitious treatment or treating them through magical powers. So witches are mentally disturbed persons and they should require or be given a medical treatment. Later on there was an age of reason and enlightenment. This was around the 17th and the 18th century. Under this, most of the understanding related to faith and behavior was taken into account, and because of which a reform movement came into play, and this reform movement brought in the change in the thought of people, where people now started to understand there is nothing superstitious about it, but there is no magical powers, no supernatural powers that can cure it, but this is a process of irrational, illogical thought which has been developed into the human mind. So according to the classification, we have two important classifications. The first classification is by APA, the American Psychiatric Association, which is known as the DSM-4. APA, which is the American Psychiatrist Association, laid down the various psychological disorders in the Compendium, which is the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders. Now, this Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders marks down the various psychological disorders which we would understand in the next lectures, where we would understand how anxiety, somatoform disorders are some of those disorders. The next important classification is the classification which has been prepared by WHO, the World Health Organization, and this is known as ICD-10, which is the International Classification for Diseases. And International Classification for Diseases 10, developed by WHO, explains how the main clinical symptoms need to be understood, and these clinical symptoms are indicative of the kind of mental disorders which can be actually witnessed. So understanding and classifying disorders became a part only after the reform movement came into play. Till then, most of the scholars focused on the concepts of supernatural, magical and superstitious powers. So understanding how abnormality originates, how abnormality can be explained, and the history behind abnormality is very, very essential.